I want to talk about the Green Bay Packers. And the reason why is because I think that right now, the NFL world and the NFL community is getting to a point where they are hating on the Packers to the point where it's getting frustrating. And you know, a lot of it is deserved, but I think specifically they're hating on Aaron Rodgers a lot for what's been going on in this season, and I kind of want to give my take on it. Now, before I say anything, Aaron Rodgers is a lot to blame for what's going on. Certainly, he has not played like the Aaron Rodgers we all know. He has played a lot better in his career. He has taken a ton of money when he really doesn't need it at this point, which is kind of restricting the Packers from going out and doing a lot more stuff that they could have done, like, for instance, possibly keeping Devontae Adams, stuff like that, you know, when you're getting paid $50+ million a year and your cap hit is somewhere in the $55 to $60 million range, it's going to be really tough to get guys that are going to want a lot of money and keep them because you don't have a lot of flexibility there. So certainly all that has something to do with what is going on with the Packers right now. But right now they are 6-8. They are third in their division, right behind the Lions, who are 7-7. Which that's a whole nother. That's so awesome. Like, I love the fact that the Lions are playing as well as they are. And then obviously the Vikings, who are running away with the division at 10-3, 11-3, whatever they are at this point. So Minnesota has really taken over the division, and I don't think a lot of us really saw that coming this year, and I think that's a big reason why the Packers are not doing as well. Obviously, you only play them a couple of times, but when you have a team in your division that's playing that well, it's going to be hard to be better than that team. I mean, you know, if the Packers were 10-5 or 10-4 or even 9-5, you'd say, oh, they're having a pretty good year. They're having a pretty Packers-like year. They'd still be second in their division. So, you know, at a certain point, you kind of have to shake your head and go, you know, hey, whatever. But there's a lot of reasons why the Packers season has gone wrong here in 2022 and then moving into 2023 here in obviously just a couple of weeks. Mainly, I think it is the lack of offensive weapons that Aaron Rodgers has around him. Now, I know it's the boy who cried wolf, and I understand the kind of frustration that people are going to get when I say that. But, I mean, it is kind of true at this point. I mean, the Packers do not have really any reliable weapons. When Allen Lazard is your most successful receiver in your offense, you're not going to be a good offense. That's just how it's going to work. It's like the Patriots, right? When Jacoby Myers, and again, no disrespect to Jacoby Myers because he's a good player, and no disrespect to Allen Lazard because he's a good player, but neither of them should be the number one option in your offense. Neither of them. They really shouldn't even be your number two receiver in your offense, quite frankly. You could maybe argue Jacoby Myers could be a solid number two somewhere, but even that's a stretch to me for a championship team. If he went to the Bengals right now, if Allen Lazard went to the Bengals right now, either of them, they would be the number 4 option. Maybe number 5, quite frankly, at this point. So for me, it just doesn't, it's not conducive to a successful offense when you've got really no consistent weapons. Now, the Packers went out and drafted some rookie wide receivers this year. Obviously, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, a spattering of others as well. But for me, none of them have really panned out the way that they wanted. Now, a lot has been made about, you know, the Packers being, you know, having less than an ideal offense and a less than ideal offensive line. But the counter argument is, hey, but their defense, that's where they spent all their money. That's where they re-signed Jair Alexander and Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark and all these guys to put into their defense because that's their calling card, right? Unfortunately, their defense is, no pun intended here, very middle of the pack. So when you put all your money into a defense that's now mediocre, because that's what they've been mediocre. Now, to be fair. Their pass defense has been top 5 in the NFL. Their defense against the pass has been great. Their defense against the run, however, is 29th in the NFL. Very, very bad. So when you have that, that's not conducive to success. When you have sacrificed your weapons on offense to have a great defense, you need to have a great defense. The Patriots, for all their offensive flaws, have a pretty stellar defense. And have had a pretty stellar defense all year long. Now, they're only one game better right now than the Packers, but certainly you can make the argument that the Packers' defense has been way worse than the Patriots, which could obviously kind of be a factor in how they are losing so many games. For me, I think that the defense has definitely let the team down, for sure, especially on the ground. I mean, they are hemorrhaging running yards on the ground right now. And the Packers, according to NFL Reference, have had 27 drops. Now, according to NFL.com, what they classify as drops, they only have 24. But if you look on NFL Reference, the wide receivers and the weapons for the Packers have had 27 drops this year. Now, 24 and 27 may not seem like a big difference, but that is the difference between being in 6th place for 6th most drops or number 1 in the NFL. They would be tied with the Buffalo Bills to have the most drops in the NFL. Now, drop passes, you say, oh man, you're really reaching for straws here, man. You're really kind of being picky. Fair. That's a fair argument. But think about it this way. You have a third down, okay? If you have a third down and 5, you're down by 10. You got about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Your wide receiver drops a ball. That would have been a first down. Now you have to punt. Other team has a 6-minute drive, ends up kicking a field goal. Now you're down by 13 with 3 minutes left instead of being possibly either down 7 or down 3, maybe even 2 if you decided to go for 2 and have it, be 8 points. With, let's say, conservatively speaking, 6 minutes, 5 minutes left. At that game, you have a chance. You get a stop on defense, you can get the ball back, you might be able to throw something together. But down by 13, 3 minutes left, you got no chance. All because of one drop. One drop is all it takes to completely kill the momentum of a drive, kill the momentum of a game. And have we forgotten Christian Watson was 15 yards away from any of the closest defenders, and he dropped a perfect in-the-bucket pass from Aaron Rodgers that he could have done a handstand with the football between his knees and handstand walked all the way to the end zone. That's how far away he was from everybody. And he dropped it. That is something that doesn't show up in the box score. If the Packers lose that game by 3 points, they shouldn't have lost that game by 3 points because Christian Watson dropped that touchdown. You see what I'm saying there? It's frustrating because you might look at the number and say, oh, they have the most drops in the NFL. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean you stink. Look at the Bills. They're tied for first, and they're first in their division, and they might be the number 1 seed in the AFC by the time the year's over. Absolutely. You're absolutely 100% correct. But it doesn't help. It certainly doesn't help. Now, Aaron Rodgers hasn't played at his best, right? And a lot of people are going to blame Aaron Rodgers for playing poorly this year. And again, he hasn't played at his best. But listen, the guy's got 23 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. His QBR is in the 90s. It's not like that's horrible. That's pretty average. Now, we all expect more from Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and he's being paid like a top 2 quarterback in the NFL, so he should play like one. 100%. But it's not like Aaron Rodgers has been playing awful. Mac Jones? Awful. Aaron Rodgers has not been awful. He's been average. Now, again, we expect a lot more out of Aaron Rodgers, but it's not like he has been horrendous at playing quarterback position. Their run game has been very, very solid this year, despite the fact that they really don't have a good offensive line. So, again, that part of their offense is overperforming, but the rest of their offense, not really all that great. And again, their defense, which is supposed to be this absolute juggernaut of a group, has been literally 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, in just about every category until you get to passing yards. They're like number 1, number 2, number 3 in that range. And then rushing yards, they're 29th or 30th or 28th or somewhere around there. You see that discrepancy. In the back half of their defense, they're solid. But their front half, where they spent a lot of money to be fantastic, has let them down miserably. So please stop saying that the Packers being 6-8 is all Aaron Rodgers' fault. It is a lot of Aaron Rodgers' fault. Absolutely. 100% agree. But it is not all Aaron Rodgers' fault. The man needs some help on offense. Now, I'm not saying Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs or, any of these other rookies or young guys that are going to, be on that team. I'm not saying that they can't develop and be fantastic. I truly believe Christian Watson has the ability to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league. But right now, he's not. And right now, nobody on that team is. So Aaron Rodgers is going to need some help. And you know what? If they continue to struggle, they'll get a decent draft pick. You might be able to get some decent help this offseason. If you're willing to spend the money, if you're willing to spend the draft pick, get the man some help, get the man some weapons, and we'll see what happens. But for goodness sakes, stop blaming everything on Aaron Rodgers. I have defended Aaron Rodgers as much as I could. Now, obviously, he played very, very poorly in the playoffs last year. Can't really defend that. He underperformed. He didn't show up when the team needed him to. Nobody really did on offense that day, quite frankly. But when no one shows up, if you're trying to be the best quarterback of all time, you got to show up. Now, we'll see what happens for the rest of the season, but I don't really see much hope for the Packers for the playoff push. They've got 2 teams in their division that are really fighting for it other than them. So I think it's going to be really, really tough for the Packers to make the postseason. I certainly could see a world where that happens. But they're going to have to really, really push. They're going to have to win the next 3 games, and they're just going to have to hope and pray that some other stuff falls their way. But again, stop blaming Aaron Rodgers for everything. But yeah, the Packers have not really been all that great this season, but there's a lot of reasons for it. It's not just on the quarterback. He needs some help. The defense has been pretty average, which is not what they're paying for. It's fine to have an average defense if you're paying average money. They're not paying average money for their defense, so they need to be better. The Packers overall just need to be better.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby, so I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.